They felt cold and kind of robotic. A cold stare fixed on Jinwoo. The hair on the back of his neck stood on end. Could this be the presence I sensed before? Beating this knight might be the key part of the job change quest. He needed to be careful. He clenched his fists and got ready to fight while watching Igris carefully. His dagger would not help here. He knew he had to use strong blows to beat the knight. Igris had been staring quietly at Jinwoo, then quickly took off its cloak. Thump. The cloak fell to the ground. Jinwoo wondered what was happening. The strange actions continued. Igris removed its sword from its waist, and 2 daggers from behind it, holding each weapon up before letting them fall to the ground. It seemed like Igris wanted Jinwoo to see what it was doing. Clank! Clang! The sound of metal hitting stone filled the big cave. Igris threw away its weapons and held up its fists in a fighting pose. It almost seemed like Igris was making fun of Jinwoo. Jinwoo was shocked. Was Igris really planning to fight him with just its fists? Because Jinwoo was doing the same. Jinwoo bit his lip. It's looking down on me. His face started getting hot from anger at being mocked. The more upset he got, the more agitated Jinwoo became. His heart raced and his eyes stayed completely focused. Bring it on. It was as if Igris knew what Jinwoo was thinking. The knight charged at him. Thud 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 thud. Igris moved so fast. It was hard to believe it was wearing armor. Armor usually slows down anyone with less than 80 strength, which meant the knight's strength was at least 80. The way Igris moved, its agility matched that of a top-ranked hunter. When it got close, Igris jumped into the air. Thud. It aimed its knee right at Jinwoo's face. It was so fast, but Jinwoo was ready and pushed his reflexes to the limit. He bent backward almost at a right angle to avoid the attack, then quickly straightened up. Igris landed smoothly, which was different from other knights who often lost their balance and fell. Dude! Jinwoo did not have time to be amazed by how smooth its movements were. Jinwoo ran quickly toward Igris before the knight could turn around and kicked at the monster's face. Even though Igris was off balance, it swung one of its huge arms at Jinwoo with surprising speed. Wham! Igris easily blocked Jinwoo's kick with its other hand. Jinwoo was amazed. With one of his legs out of action, Igris started punching at him fast. Whoosh! Jinwoo quickly put his arms up to block the hit, but it still hurt a lot when it connected. Bam! The force sent him flying through the air. What's happening? Jinwoo asked in shock before groaning in pain as he fell hard to the ground. Igris was suddenly right in front of Jinwoo. Before Jinwoo could react, Igris's left fist hit the side of his face. Thud! Jinwoo fell hard to the ground and rolled back a few times before stopping. He struggled to get back on his feet. His ears were ringing loudly from the hit. He shook his head a couple of times, and the ringing got a little better. That was the least of his worries. His blurry eyes saw Igris walking quickly towards him. Thump thump. Jinwoo opened his eyes wide, and got ready to move. Igris stopped right in front of Jinwoo. That's when Jinwoo really started getting hit hard. Igris didn't even try to block. Instead, it took the hits and fought back. Bam! Jinwoo hit Igris's head to the side, and Igris quickly hit him back. Bam! Jinwoo staggered. Bam! This time Igris stumbled back. Bam! Another hit made Jinwoo double over. Gak! Jinwoo grunted in pain and spit out some blood. How was this happening? Even though Jinwoo could handle more than 30% of the attacks without getting hurt, each punch from Igris felt like being hit with a hammer. His own attacks were not hurting the enemy very much. The fight ended quickly. Bam! His knees finally gave out. Whump! He tried to get up, but his legs felt too weak to hold him up. Whump! He groaned in pain. The knight stood silently over Jinwoo, who looked confused. The knight didn't notice Jinwoo's confused expression. It reached out and its sword flew back to its hand from across the room. The knight held the sword tightly with both hands, stood beside Jinwoo, and lifted the blade toward the sky. Jinwoo figured out Igris's scheme. It wanted to behead him. Igris was truly acting like a knight captain. Since Jinwoo didn't fight back, Igris carried out the execution. Jinwoo wasn't about to give up without fighting back. A sword came swinging down with a whooshing sound. Jinwoo quickly lifted his left fist to block it. There was a loud clang as metal hit metal. The metal gloves he had gotten protected his hands. Igris seemed surprised by this. He saw his chance and swung his right fist at the knight. Igris didn't try to get out of the way. He thought the knight was trying to hit him back. but the knight didn't see what was coming next. Kasaka's venom fang appeared in his hand, and he struck the knight's eye. Boom! Chunk! A loud, painful cry filled the air. At the same time, a beam of light came out of the eye where the dagger was stuck. Junwoo got back on his feet. Now what? Destroying one eye wouldn't finish the fight. He needed a final move. Then an idea hit him as he remembered a scary attack that had almost killed him before. He decided Igris needed to experience this. Before Jinwoo realized what he was doing, he had already moved. He crouched down and hugged Igris tightly around the middle. Then he started running. Igris shouted angrily and hit Jinwoo's back several times. The pain made it hard for Jinwoo to keep going. Jinwoo gritted his teeth tightly. He sped up and shouted dash. His speed jumped by 40%. His legs moved faster, and his whole body quivered from the high speed. This was how it should be. He wanted to defeat Igris. Jinwoo kept a tight hold on his opponent, and charged straight at the wall. Of course, this would also have a terrible effect on him, but he had one last trick up his sleeve. The gap closed in an instant, and the wall was right there. Boom! Igris smashed into the wall. As it did, a message popped up. Ping! Your determination skill is now active. Since your health is below 30, all damage you take will be reduced by half. The hit was so powerful that the whole room shook for a moment. Jinwoo stumbled back. Igris was stuck in the wall but still alive. The flame of life kept burning inside it. I need to end this. Jinwoo pulled Kasaka's venom fang out of Igris's eye, and its body twitched. Jinwoo tightened his grip and swung at the knight's neck. Fatal strike. Clang. The blade bounced off. Again. Fatal strike. Sparks flew everywhere as the attack lanced off once more. There were now marks on the metal collar around its neck.
Bang! Fatal strike.
Clang. Once more. Clang. And again. Clang. Finally. Fatal strike. Shunk. Kasaka's poisonous fangs dug deep into its neck. You have defeated Knight Commander Igris the Bloodred. You have leveled up. Jinwoo raised his arms in victory. He stepped back a few times and then fell to his knees as his legs gave way. Puff. Puff. He let out the breath he had been holding. He had barely won, it was really close. But the quest wasn't over yet. Jinwoo took his time catching his breath, then pulled himself up. He thought killing this creature would end the quest, but the system stayed quiet. Looking around, he saw that nothing had changed. Well, one thing was different. Lights were coming out of Igris's body, lying on the ground. He saw some items to pick up. He should deal with that first. After all, he didn't know what would happen next, so picking up as many items as possible was the smart move. Jinwoo stretched out his hand. He found a Crimson Knight's helmet, and was asked if he wanted to take it. Then he discovered a rune stone called Ruler's Hand with the same question. There was also a leather pouch containing gold coins. Lastly, an instant teleportation stone appeared, offering him a chance to use it instantly. Jinwoo saw a surprising number of items which confused him but also made him happy. He decided to take them all. First up was a leather pouch. When he opened it, he found 500,000 gold coins. Now Jinwoo had won 500,000 gold coins. His eyes widened in surprise. The rewards were amazing. The battle was tough, but the rewards made it all worth it. He didn't expect much from the leather pouch, not even 500,000 gold pieces. Now he had enough money to buy lots of useful things. But Jinwoo was thinking about something else. If an item he didn't expect much from was this good, how valuable would the helmet or rune stone be? Jinwoo kept his hopes low as he checked the helmet's info. It was called the Crimson Knight's helmet. The difficulty to get it was S. It was a type of protective gear. S. Bennett. Jinwoo shouted. This was his first S-rank item. A 15% decrease in physical damage would have been great. But it also added 20 points to both his strength and stamina. His heart raced as he looked at the screen. A-rank items couldn't compare to this. By now he had obtained 2 A-rank items. The first was Kasaka's venom gland from the snake-like Kasaka, and the second was the Warden's collar from the Hellhound Cerberus. Both items were incredible in their own ways. Even though there was a slight weakness, the venom gland reduced any physical harm taken by 20%. The Warden's collar boosted his speed and awareness by 20 points each, making it one of the best items around. But this new Crimson Knight's helmet offered benefits from both items combined, without any downsides. It truly was the best. Jinwoo stood in the middle of a boss lair, yet he couldn't stop smiling. He genuinely liked its design, which made him even happier. Too bad it would stay invisible. The blood-red helmet with its long flowing mane looked like a masterpiece. He briefly considered putting on the complete suit of armor if possible. However, what could have been was not meant to be. Not every piece of Igris's armor glowed, so he was not allowed to take them. The only protective gear available to him was the helmet. He stopped daydreaming and carefully put on the helmet. Boom. As always, the helmet vanished instantly. Even though he couldn't show it off, the helmet boosted his stats. Strength, 1220 stamina, 8720 agility, 107, intelligence 66 perception, 89 physical damage, reduced by 46% 15%. The numbers in parentheses showed how much each stat increased when he wore the helmet. His strength, endurance and ability to weaken enemies had improved a lot. He felt excited about these changes. His heart was racing as he looked at his new stats. Wait, no, he thought. The quest is not done yet, so I should not get too happy now. Besides, there were more items to explore. He looked at the other two things with interest. Runestone Ruler's Hand item, Instant Teleportation Stone. Of the two small stones, the Instant Teleportation Stone caught his eye first. I know what rune stones are, but what was an Instant Teleportation Stone? He quickly learned more when the information screen appeared. Pyam. Item, Instant Teleportation Stone rank. Category consumable. This item can be obtained only from a job change quest. Crush the stone to be instantly teleported outside the dungeon. If you don't use it, it will disappear when the quest ends. You can't put it in your bag. It worked like a special stone, but instead of teaching you a new skill, it helped you escape the dungeon. Wait, is the quest still going on? If it were over, the stone would have broken by now, right? Since it was still whole, that could only mean one thing. Jinwoo felt a chill run down his back. It was strange. He had just gotten one of the most important items he needed to escape the dungeon, yet at that moment he had a bad feeling. If this stone could work in other dungeons, all hunters would rush to get one. This small rock was life-changing. So what would people not do to get it? Jinwoo was no different. The stone made this challenge a bit easier. If he needed to, he could leave the dungeon any time. But he still felt a strange uneasy feeling in his stomach. And just as he thought something might happen, the system beeped loudly like it had been waiting for this moment. The player has acquired the Instant Teleportation Stone. The job change quest begins now. What just happened? This item started the quest. Jinwoo felt dizzy like he had stepped on a landmine. If only he had known this would happen, he might have waited a bit longer. Now it was too late to change his mind. No matter how skilled or wise someone was, the future was always full of surprises. Jinwoo felt his heart race and broke out in a cold sweat. He quickly checked his stats. HP 416 1, 1020 70, MP 390, 850, fatigue 61. His fatigue was a bit high, but he could still manage. The helmet's bonus had also boosted his health, which was a good sign. Jinwoo told himself he could handle this. He felt safer knowing he had the Instant Teleportation Stone in his hand. But he couldn't get rid of the idea that the stone meant giving up. If it didn't, then it wouldn't have been used to start the quest. If I give up on this, he would lose his chance to change his job. Sweat dropped from his forehead and hit the floor. He wiped his dry lips as another message popped up. Suddenly a ping sounded. A new message appeared. Mysterious portals will open in 10 seconds. Portals. The numbers started counting down. 100 messages followed. You have a choice. You can leave the dungeon using a magic teleport stone. The countdown continued. 8, 7, 6. Or try to survive as long as you can, collect points, and move up to a higher level. Survive. What are we supposed to survive? Jinwoo asked angrily. He had already switched the stone with the rune on it for Kasaka's Venom Fang, and put the Instant Teleportation Stone in his back pocket. He was nervous, but he was ready to fight. This was who he was. The job change quest would begin soon. Jinwoo glared nervously at the timer and looked around. 432. Something was happening. The space around him began to warp and distort. It was the first time the system had showed any feelings. But there was no time to be surprised. Once the countdown hit 0, doors started opening everywhere in the room. Whoosh, whoosh. It wasn't just 1 or 2. There were about 6 near him and more elsewhere. The timer began counting up at the same time. Further their time was passing, and every second counted toward earning points. Jinwoo didn't fully understand what the system had said, but he got the main idea. The longer I hang in there, the stronger I'll get. To be exact, he'd get a better job. He couldn't let this opportunity go to waste. He had plenty of both HP and MP left. I'll give it my all. With exactly 3 seconds on the clock, a huge number of weaponless knights poured out of the gates near him. Thud, 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 thud. The ground trembled from the sea of silver knights. Their numbers could have overwhelmed Jinwoo, but he had a smile on his face. I can easily take these guys. He was kind of thankful that these knights were his opponents. If they had been monsters like Igris, he would have barely lasted a few seconds. First, let's get out of their sight, with stealth. He decided to use some of his precious mana. Boom, he began fading from view. As expected, the knights all stopped in their tracks. Suddenly the system made a noise. Jinwoo turned around to find out where it was coming from. A mage had appeared from a gate and was using magic. Jinwoo saw an eye-shaped symbol floating above its head. The symbol flashed and Jinwoo's stealth turned off right away. Shoot. Things were getting worse fast. The knights, standing like statues, all turned their heads toward Jinwoo at the same time. It felt like something out of a scary movie. A silver wave was coming straight for him. Jinwoo got ready. Bam. He struck the lead knight, and it stopped moving. A message appeared: you have defeated a knight. Jinwoo's eyes lit up. Strong desire to fight. Skill strong desire to fight has been activated. Debuff panic has been activated. All the opponent's abilities will decrease by 50% for 1 minute. The effect made many monsters slow down, but Jinwoo's MP dropped to 90. Jinwoo used a powerful spell called Deadly Focus, which cost him all his energy, so he couldn't use it again. But this gave him a chance to act fast. He started defeating monsters quickly, while they were weak. The sounds of battle filled the air as he fought with amazing speed. However, more knights kept coming through the gate faster than he could stop them. Jinwoo checked the time in the middle of all this action. He had 3 minutes and 19 seconds left before it would all be over. How many points did that add up to? Could he leave yet? There was no time to stop and calculate things. Knights kept coming out of the gates without stopping. Even though Jinwoo had defeated many knights already, it was hard to tell how many were now filling the room. Jinwoo started getting overwhelmed by the swarm of knights. Skill willpower has been activated. Skill willpower has been activated. His health dropped a lot, and was almost gone. HP 136, 10, 2070. How much time? 5 minutes and 8 seconds. He had lasted as long as he could. Let's get out of here. Jinwoo was trapped in a tight cage made of silver. He tried to reach his back pocket while surrounded by all that armor. But then, think. The instant teleportation stone slipped from his hand. It bounced off a knight's heel and rolled away. No. Jinwoo stretched out his hand to grab the stone, but the knights blocked him. More of them started piling on him. He couldn't breathe, and it was hard to catch his breath. His strength began to fade. Boom. Boom. As he started to pass out from being hit again and again by the knights, he heard someone laughing at him. This is all your fault. A voice said, why did you decide to take a different path? Wasn't it incredible enough for a low-ranking hunter to rise to C or even B rank? This is as far as you could go. Leave me alone. This is your fault. Leave me alone. Suddenly Jinwoo pushed back with all his might, and the knights surrounding him stumbled backward. He looked near death, but still had a fierce glint in his eye. His gaze was filled with anger. It couldn't end like this. He had gone through so much for this one chance. All his life he had been at the bottom of society, and he wanted to reach the top more than anything. More than anyone else, he understood how hard it is to be weak. Even though he had struggled hard to survive life, only got him laughed at and mocked. Why does someone with an E rank matter? What was the association thinking? They should have sent someone strong. Not. But he just hid behind other hunters. He had finally been given a chance to reach the place he had always dreamed of, so how could he just sit back and watch? No way. I remember now. He remembered the voices that had just been echoing in his head. It was their voices. The voices of everyone who had made fun of him behind his back. While they could laugh all they wanted, he was going to keep trying with every bit of strength he had left. No matter how much health Jinwoo had, he kept fighting until he could no longer move. He gave a loud shout and charged forward. With a powerful strike he hit one of the knights, knocking it down and causing others to fall too. The other knights quickly got back up and started coming after him again. Jinwoo fought back with even greater strength.
Bam, bam, bam.
Each enemy that met his fist, elbow, knee, or foot fell over like a paper doll. A warning appeared saying his fatigue was over 70, and his movements would be limited. Jinwoo slowed down as warned, but his eyes still burned with determination. Some knights got back up after being hit once or twice, so he struck them 3 or 4 more times to keep them down. Crack. Meanwhile, another countdown began. Jinwoo was so focused on the battle that he didn't realize what was happening until the countdown got close to 0. Wait. Is the quest going to end? For a moment he felt hopeful, but those hopes were quickly crushed. The timer kept running, so it didn't seem like the countdown was connected to the quest ending. 4, 3, 2. Was this countdown leading to something bad happening to him? Something like that had happened before. Right when everything started,